Hey everyone, and welcome. We are about to tackle one of the biggest head-scratchers in American politics, the presidential election. Let's dive right in, because we're going to unpack a system where getting the most votes across the country doesn't actually guarantee a win.
This is the question, right? It's something that can seem completely backwards. How on earth can a candidate get fewer votes from actual people but still walk away with the presidency? Well, let's break it down and see how this is even possible.
And look, this isn't just some weird theory. It actually happens. Take a look at the 2016 election. Hillary Clinton got almost 3 million more votes from Americans than Donald Trump did. But when all was said and done, Trump won the presidency. Why? Because he won the electoral vote 304 to 227. So what in the world are these electoral votes, and why are they the only ones that really matter?
To really get how those electoral votes work, we have to take a quick step back. You see, the presidential election isn't just one Tuesday in November. It's a total marathon that kicks off almost 2 full years beforehand.
It all starts with candidates throwing their hats in the ring. Then you have months and months of primaries and caucuses where each party picks their champion. After the big summer conventions make it all official, the nominees go head-to-head until Election Day. And that's where our story and the system gets really interesting.
Okay, this is the big one. This brings us to the most important piece of this whole puzzle, the Electoral College. Here's the secret. When you vote for president, you're not actually voting for the candidate. You're voting for a group of people, 538 of them to be exact, called electors. They're the ones who actually cast the final votes for president.
So what even is an elector? Well, think of them as a designated voter. Each political party in each state picks a slate of these people. They're usually very loyal party members, and their one and only job is to cast the official vote for president on behalf of the people in their state.
And that's the grand total. There are 538 electors spread across the United States. This number, 538, represents the entire prize. Candidates are all fighting for the biggest possible piece of this pie.
So where does this 538 number even come from? It's actually pretty simple. It's tied directly to Congress. You've got 435 members in the House of Representatives, right? And 100 senators, 2 for every state. Add those up, toss in 3 electors for Washington, D.C., and voila, you get 538. Okay, out of all those numbers, this is the one you need to remember, 270. To win the presidency, a candidate has to get a majority of those 538 electoral votes. That means they need to get to 270. It's a race to 270.
So how do candidates get to 270? This brings us to the single most important rule in this entire system, the rule that explains pretty much everything. It's called the winner-take-all system. Here's how it works in almost every state. Whoever wins the most votes from the people in that state, even if it's just by a tiny little bit, gets all 100% of that state's electoral votes, the whole lot.
I mean, think about that for a second. It doesn't matter if you win a state by 1 million votes or by a single solitary vote. The prize is exactly the same. You get all of that state's electoral votes. And that reality completely shapes and defines the entire presidential campaign.
Now, like with any good rule, there are a couple of small exceptions. You've got Maine and Nebraska. They do things a little differently. They use a kind of proportional system where they can split their electoral votes between candidates. But they're the only two. For everyone else, it's winner take all.
So what does this rule mean for strategy? Well, if you're running for president, why would you waste your time and money in a state you know you're definitely going to win or definitely going to lose? You wouldn't. Instead, you pour all your resources into a small handful of competitive swing states, the ones that could really go either way.
And if you want proof, just look at the data from 2016. It's absolutely stunning. Two-thirds of all campaign events, all the rallies, all the visits, happened in just 6 states. The other 44 states had to share what was left over. That's the race to 270 in action.
All of this, it kind of leads to a much bigger question. Why? Why do we have this system in the first place? And to really get the debate that's raging today, we have to travel back in time to see why it was created.
So let's go back over 200 years. The founders who designed the Constitution were dealing with a very different America. For one, the country was huge and communication was slow. But they also worried that a direct popular vote could lead to what they called mob rule. And, maybe most importantly, they wanted to make sure that small states with fewer people weren't just ignored. It was basically a big compromise.
And fast forward to today, that debate is alive and well. On one side, supporters say the system still works. They argue it protects small states, forces candidates to build broad national support, and usually gives us a clear winner. But on the other side, critics have a lot to say. They argue, pretty simply, that the person with the most votes should win. They point out that it gives way too much power to just a few swing states and can make people in other states feel like their vote just doesn't count.
And that really leaves us with the big final question we have to ask ourselves. We have this system, designed more than 200 years ago, for a nation that looked nothing like the America we live in today. So does it still make sense? Does it still serve its purpose? That's a debate that gets to the very heart of how Americans choose their leader.